let's do this. I was kind of, I'm gonna well up now. Can't believe it took me 2 interviews and COVID to get. I had imagined this moment. I have an A. Yay! Remember in my previous law school video where I said it has to be at least mid-January until I get my first result? Mid-January, what was I thinking? I thought I would have a results multiple by February. That's what I said, right? It's the last week of March. I still have to hear back from a lot of schools. If I had known that this cycle was going to be this long and slow. But you know, to be honest, I can't even pretend to be stressed out at this point because I have an A. Yay! Oh my god. Can't believe I have an A. At the end of the day, you're just gonna matriculate to one school. It just takes one. And I have that, and I am beyond grateful. It's a fantastic school. Okay, so I'm just gonna recap the process of me getting admitted to Georgetown in this video because it's been a little out of the ordinary. Yeah, so I hope this could be of help to anybody who might go through the same thing in future cycles. I don't know. The first time since I've recovered that I'm making a vlog, I think I'm about 45–50% back to my normal physique. I'm a bit wary. I get tired very easily. For those of you who don't know the situation in Korea, when it first hit, hardly anybody got COVID. So it was very serious if you had COVID. Like pre-Omicron, we've been on the frontier of having the best measure against COVID. Everyone was just abiding by all the regulations that were very necessary, and we kept things under control for a really long time until it came to a point where there are so many variants, thankfully with less severe symptoms compared to the previous versions. Most of us have gotten the booster shots, 3 vaccines, and it's just become inevitable. I have friends who've been locked up inside their house, just not going anywhere, and they got COVID like when they were taking out the trash. So it's gotten to a point where, yeah, it's just a lot of people are getting it. Fully vaccinated, all masked up, washing my hands 50 times a day, hand sanitizers, but it happened. I don't know where I got it. I had a few friends who had gotten it and it wasn't that serious. They were like, oh, it's kind of like a flu, not even a fever, just like tickly throat, runny nose, that was it. Some were asymptomatic. It was not the same for me. I had it very bad. Never want to go through it again. I've never been that sick in my life. Yeah, it was bad. But if that is what it took for me to get my first A, yeah, it was worth it, you know? It took me 2 interviews and COVID to get myself the Georgetown A. Here's what happened. When you are applying for American law school, the process is very similar, but there are differences between schools. There are school-specific procedures. Some schools don't interview anybody. Some schools, it's optional. For example, I think it's Northwestern. When you are making the application, you are asked whether you want to do a HERA interview, computer recorded interview, and that's optional. It says that it doesn't affect your app, but it's, you know, recommended that you do. And some schools, if you want to get admitted, you just have to interview. It's definitely the case for Harvard. I don't think it was specified on Georgetown's homepage, but pretty much everyone who gets accepted go through interviews. And other schools that I've applied to, as far as I know, they don't require an interview. And Georgetown has 2 types of interview. One, alumni, the other, group interview. Alumni interview, literally you interview with a Georgetown Law Center alum. I heard that it happens to a lot of non-traditional applicants who have been out of school for a while, or international applicants who are based outside the US. Group interview, you do it with the Dean of Admissions, and you do it with other people through Zoom. I got the alumni interview request early January, and I said yes, of course, and I felt good about it because I tend to do well in interviews. If you reverse that, it means that I am not so good at representing myself on paper. So if I I had to choose, I would always go for an interview rather than just do a paper evaluation. So I was really happy when I got the interview request. I was matched with someone who is based in Hong Kong. Also, we were in a similar time zone, which made sense. And I felt really good about the interview, but I kind of panicked. 5 minutes into the interview, my interviewer said, "Oh my God, your English is so good." And immediately I was like, would the admissions committee, not just for Georgetown, but like every school that I've applied to, naturally assume that my English speaking isn't as good as this because I am based in South Korea and I've, had middle school and high school and college education in Korea. Yeah, I just hadn't thought of that. And he kept complimenting my English skills throughout the interview. So I kind of beat myself up because I thought I should have emphasized this. Well, I don't know how, but I thought schools would just assume that I'm a good English speaker. I don't know. So yeah, I was feeling a little about that point, but everything else went very smoothly. I was super happy with my alumni interview, and after the interview, it's not uncommon to wait a few months. So I just waited patiently when I got the group interview invite. It specifically says on Georgetown website that you don't do 2 interviews. So if you're a reapplicant and you have done an interview in previous cycles, they ask that you notify them so that you don't do an interview again. I just assume you either do an alumni interview or a group interview. It does say the rule is that you don't do alumni interview twice, you don't do group interview twice. So it doesn't specifically say that if you have done one of the 2, you don't do the other. It doesn't say that. But I haven't seen anybody who has done 2 interviews. I researched, I asked around, nobody has heard of this, nobody has done this. I signed up for the group interview. So I sent them an email asking whether they know that I've already done an alumni interview and that there wasn't any confusion. They wrote back immediately. They're like, "Yeah, we still want you to do the group interview. We know that you did an alumni interview. There wasn't any confusion." So I was like, okay, cool. And the interview happened. Okay. So I had COVID when I did the interview. Something was really off. It wasn't as severe as after being diagnosed positive, but still I was a bit symptomatic. I didn't perform my 100%, but I felt really good about the interview. I was ready to wait longer. Some people waited over 2 months after doing their interview. So I didn't expect to hear back so soon. So I heard back in 9 days after my interview. So that was a quick turnaround. Super, super grateful. I woke up to that email. I was sick. Yeah, I was still sick. So I was released from quarantine. I was still feeling a little, and I was sleeping like 20 hours a day during my quarantine, not because I wanted to, but my body just asked for it. And I woke up a lot later than usual, which is 6. For the past 3-4 months, I've been waking up at 2, 3, 4, and 5 a.m. on the dot. So yeah, I slept in, woke up at 6, 20ish, and 3 minutes ago I had received an email from Dean Andy. When I saw the email, as with every applicant, waiting for any result for any kind of test or school, I had imagined this moment. I thought I would scream, I would jump out of the bed, I'd start making calls, I'd post on my Instagram. But I was lying in my bed, saw the email, and it was just a big wave of relief. Okay, there it is. Yeah, it was just a big, big relief, filled with gratitude. And then I started to slowly tell people, very slowly, like 1 text every hour, because it just wasn't sinking in within me. I think I read the acceptance email at least 50 times that day, making sure that it does say congratulations. Yeah, that's how it happened. Okay, part of me wants to vent on YouTube about how frustrating this cycle is. But today is one of those rare days where I'm like, yeah, I'm handling it. I am. I went into this knowing that it was going to be a really stressful process, that it was going to be a long wait. So yeah, nothing surprising there. And I knew that I had a very, very small chance of getting in anywhere. I'm good. I wasn't guaranteed anything. I wasn't promised anything. I knew this was a really, really long shot. So I'm handling it the way I wanted myself to handle it. So I'm good. Although an acceptance somewhere along the line would be fantastic. Today I am feeling really bad and I don't want to be sick for my interview. And my burger. First of all, I don't think I have COVID, but just to be sure, this is what a self-COVID test kit looks like. Single line, but still. Okay. Here's what's happening. I am feeling majorly sick. Oh my god. I think it was a mistake to take the cold medicine because I think it's making me really drowsy. I have an interview in an hour and a half and I really should be turning on my laptop, getting on it. I'm gonna drink coffee, turn on my laptop, start prepping. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to wake up with ice cream and they did not bring me a spoon. They gave me a straw. So this is what I'm doing. It's good though. When I'm halfway done, I'm gonna abandon it and switch to coffee. Trying to put on my face. I don't know if you can relate to this. When I'm not feeling good, my makeup won't stick. It will just float on my face. And that is what's happening right now. And I'm a little awake thanks to the ice cream and coffee. I did prep for this interview ever since I got the request. I don't want to look sick, but I think that's kind of what's happening. Okay, a lot of blush. But then I also don't want to look drunk or flushed. I did bring sweats so that I could be comfortable, at least the lower half of my body, but then I decided against it. I think I want to stay a little tense. And now it's a Zoom session. I want to see how I look on camera. So I'm gonna log on to my own Zoom account, start a mock Zoom meeting so that I can see what I look like, adjust the camera angles, and set up my chair and everything. I don't want to do that when I am like on camera. I also brought a second laptop, which is better than this laptop. I'm just really used to this one, so I'm using this. Do I get a better lighting here? Realize I look better if I actually turn the desk around. Okay, so I think that's gonna be my camera setting. Yes, this is the camera setting I want. The height of the seat is perfect. I like the camera angle. Yep, that's it. And 38 minutes to go. My laptop ready. I have a few notes on the side with my pen and paper. Wrote down some of the things like name of the clinic, law journals, potential questions I might have for an admission dean. Yeah, let's do this. My interview is done. 1 a.m. here. I am not myself. I was sick as a dog. Didn't feel like an interview. It just felt like getting to know your potential fellow classmates. And I really liked our group. I liked everyone in my group. I was kind of, I'm gonna well up now. I have heard all these great stories about Dean of Admissions, Dean Andy Kornblatt of Georgetown Law. And he sent us off by giving us his personal email. I heard that's a good sign. He said that we actually went overtime, and he said it was a really good sign. So that's also good. But the last thing that he said was, good job, you know, good for you for trying to become a lawyer, trying to go to law school, change careers, move to another country, and take on this challenge to do stuff that matters. He said that you're gonna be committed. He didn't say you might, he said you are going to be committed to a great law school. You're gonna do stuff that matters. And it just felt like a big confirmation stamp on what I have been striving to do. His send-off just once again allowed me to remind myself why I was doing this. I don't really get emotional when people tell me that I've done a good job, that I've been through so much. I mean, not that it doesn't mean anything, but it doesn't make me cry. But today it did. Maybe because I'm hearing from the person that I really, really want him or her to know what I've been through and why I'm doing this, but just to hear those words. And I'm really afraid to turn on the TV. I'll find out with you guys. Okay. Yeah, another good news. So I am just doubly excited. I'm really, really glad that I did this interview. Yeah, okay. Morning. Really busy morning. Not feeling so hot right now. Starting my day with another test. I did the test with my nose, and I did one by sticking the stick into my throat, because some people said that it's a faster way of finding out. All the tests that I did yesterday with my nose and today, one line, I'm negative, but the one that I did with my neck shows a very faint, like a really, like you have to do it in a certain light. It's a faint line. So I've just packed it in. That's why I don't have it right now. I packed it in plastic wrap and put it in my bag. I think I'm gonna take it to the hospital so that they would let me have a proper PCR. I wanna be sure, so I'm just canceling all my plans for the next week, and I am booking my appointment at the doctor's. We'll see. Okay. Wow, I'm doing this. I don't really know what to say. I just turned on the camera because I felt I should. On the day of, 4 hours ago, I got my first acceptance. Hopefully not last. Wow, okay. Yeah, it just feels really great. And I've been getting so many congratulations messages through my Instagram. So thank you, everybody. Couldn't reply to every one of you, but I've read all the messages and I'm so thankful. Yeah, so it took me 2 interviews and COVID to get me an acceptance. My cycle is far from over. I think I'm going to do a cycle recap video. And then there's the process of sending in deposits, waiting for waitlist results, waiting for hold results. That's a different thing. And finance, it's going to take me a while before I am able to make a cycle recap videos. And all the comments on my videos, all the DMs, I have been reading them over and over again. So thank you so much for holding my hand through the whole process. Really appreciate it. So like in my previous vlogs, I look super happy, right? I'm like traveling with Sanye, Kwan, Min, dancing. I wasn't faking it, but I was not myself. More than 3/4 of my day, I was miserable. Like miserable. Yeah, it was so stressful, and I had locked myself up until like January, unless it was for work. And then end of January, I started getting, I don't know, like panicky, and just had to go out, see people, be reassured and comforted. Okay, so next video is going to be back to my daily life, and I really hope to make a cycle recap video soon. Like, even with an A, this waiting is really wearing me out. Okay, thank you for watching as always, and if you are waiting for a result, if you are going through the same thing, I am praying for you, like fingers crossed for you. Yeah, so okay, catch me in my next video.